Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lauder Impact Series. Our special guest today is Deborah Wall. Deborah graduated from the Lauder Global Program in 1992. She went on to have a fantastic career in marketing, serving as the Chief Marketing Officer of General Motors, Cadillac, Chrysler, McDonald's, and other multinationals. She plays an active role in her community as the chair of the board for Friends of the Children, Detroit, and serves on several other businesses, marketing industry, and for-profits boards, including First American Financial, Media Ocean, and Action IQ. Thank you for joining us today, Deborah.
Thank you, Lucas. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Deborah, you graduated from Lauder in 1992, and you have had a tremendous journey since then. What was one of the most important turning points in your career, and how did you approach
It's such a difficult question to answer because I think as we go through life, there are many turning points. I think one turning point was when I was rocketing up in my career as a marketing exec, and I had to decide whether I want to maintain that or work to be a CEO or run a company or something like that. Took a lot of introspection and decisions about what most motivated me and what I loved doing. And I actually decided that staying and getting to the top of my field in marketing was what my goal was. And from that point on, then I focused on working with large legacy multinational companies who were in dire need of repositioning or transitioning or doing a turnaround. And I ended up in the second half of my career really focusing on those types of companies. So I went to Chrysler at one point, then I was at Pulte Group, which is home building right after the major crisis in 2008. I did McDonald's, which when I joined it was probably the most disliked company in America. And then, of course, General Motors.
Oh, perfect. And as you mentioned, you were the chief marketing officer for both McDonald's and General Motors, companies with very different products and customer journeys. How was that transition, and what insights were you able to borrow from one industry into the other?
Well, I think that's the beauty of a career in marketing because the core concepts that we actually learned at Wharton and at Lauder can apply to any type of company. It is mostly about positioning and strategy, truly understanding your customer, knowing how to create value and moving on from there. So I often say that I went from patties to caddies and was able to do it all and find value propositions and growth in both of those. Very different challenges, but yet the core foundation of what we do as in the marketing industry, which is, again, I just said it, but really focused on strategy and positioning, that never changes.
I like that, patties to caddies. And marketing as a field went through several revolutions in the past 30 years. To quote a few, big data, instant and more frequent shopping, changes in consumer preferences, ups and downs in disposable income, and now artificial intelligence. AI is everywhere. What do you believe to be timeless marketing truth? And on the other hand, what are new realities that business have to adapt to?
Well, again, another plug for the marketing industry. You'll never be bored in this area. While in finance, you might go with the same concepts and the businesses might change. In marketing, everything changes on a regular basis because we're keeping up with customers. So I think what never changes is the core about strategic positioning. Every company really needs to know how to position itself so that people clearly understand its value proposition, how it's differentiated from any of its competitors, and the unique thing that makes someone, a person, a company, a business want to hand over dollars in exchange for the value of the product or service that they get. So that remains consistent no matter what, and we need a lot more of that. Having recently watched the Super Bowl commercials, I think we could use some more of that core foundation. And then on the exciting part is, and what changes every day is clearly the entire media environment, how you get these messages to consumers, what channels you use, therefore, what kind of creative you need that's contextual in those channels. that has changed remarkably, certainly in the 30 years that I practiced marketing. And now in the last 10 years, it's on an acceleration page that I've never seen this pace before. So it keeps it really exciting. It means that you have to stay on your toes. And for most Lauderites, we love continuous learning. So it's another plug for this industry because you never stop learning. You always have to stay in touch with all these things. And of course, we're all facing the challenge of AI now.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. And on this learning perspective, what advice would you give to those pursuing a career in marketing?
I think the most valuable thing I learned from my boss at Toyota, he always said to me, follow the money. Make sure you know how to follow the money. Understand how a product or service is developed, what are the inputs, and then how does it get funded, and then how do you make money on it. So I'm actually really glad that I started my career in finance. So a big plug for that because that helped me be more familiar, just with the financial statements and where things go. So that's my first sense of it, piece of advice. And then the second I would say is figure out what you really love to do, what turns you on, where your strengths are, what will give you the most back when you do your job because you're going to work really hard. So you want to make sure that that fits in, whether it's creative, positioning, strategic, media, et cetera. There's so many things to do that you need to know all of them. And then I think my third piece of advice is my favorite career at Lauder and Morton was my statistics class. I learned more from that about how then to use data and analyze it and move it forward than really any other class that I took, despite the fact I think it was probably one of the hardest that I did take. And I think those skills, especially today, in today's environment of algorithms and coding and AI, um, sort of similar, find those core classes that are really going to help understand that trajectory the most because it will impact the jobs of the future. It will impact how we do our business. It will impact how a career is developed. And it's really worthwhile, even if it's not your favorite thing, to know and understand that.
Right. Yeah. And students still find the statistic class really hard.
Yeah, that makes me feel better. But yeah, it was the most valuable class I took. And I think um, those lessons and understanding those calculations are still really valuable.
Awesome. And may go to business school with the aspiration of one day being part of the C-suite. C-suite. You reached that position not in one, but in several global companies. How has your definition of success evolved as your career progressed?
Oh, that's very interesting. Um, I think at the beginning, my definition of success was how fast I moved up the ranks and got those new positions. And then once I did get to the higher levels, and certainly at the senior VP level or any of the strategic leadership levels that report directly to the CEOs, um, then success became something completely different. It wasn't about me individually moving up. It was about motivating a team, connecting with a group of people, connecting with an entire company to change the trajectory of that company and help it to do something really meaningful that you could look back and say, I had a small role in that, or I helped the teams do that. And that became really important to me, probably too late in my career. I wish I would have actually been less focused on my own trajectory and growth and more focused on that idea early on because that is what really makes something happen. And I go back to the times when I had when I was part of big transformations. So McDonald's, one of the things we had to do, we were at 2014 losing customers, probably one of the most disliked companies, as I said, in America. And at first, when I got there, everything we did was just completely bashed by many different entities. And we came upon one idea just by looking at customer feedback, really going back to the core. And everyone, 200,000 people had said over the last 2 years that they wanted all day breakfast. They wanted to be able to get breakfast whenever they could. And I was like, oh, done. We've got it. No problem. It turns out that that was not necessarily an original idea, but hadn't been done yet because it was incredibly hard. So, what I learned from that experience was that one, it took all of my focus and my will and my time to make sure that that idea could actually come to life. And second, I realized that it wasn't coming to life just because I was putting time in. It was also how good I was at working with the entire company from every aspect of the company. I must have given over 200 presentations and done 200 sessions with different groups across the company on why this was important and was hands dirty on negotiating with all these different areas about why this would be the right thing to do. And when we finally launched it 18 months later, it was the most successful quarter that McDonald's had ever had. It changed the trajectory of bringing new and younger customers into the brand. It was the largest revenue gain and the most profitable of anything we'd done. So I always looked back at that learning and saying, if you want to do something that really makes a difference, you have to pour heart and soul into it. But it's not just dependent on you, it's dependent on how good you are at bringing everyone else together as well and working towards solutions that can get that idea accomplished. And so that became my new definition of success. What does it take, and can you really do that? And move large groups of people to do something different that would make a difference for a company.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for that, Deborah. And now we have reached our quick fire insights. A few quick fire questions to conclude our interview. Are you ready?
Yes. All right, let's go.
Okay. What's one thing you'd tell your younger self?
Spend more time with your friends and your loved ones. Don't be on your phone all the time. Don't be looking at your screen. Actually spend quality time and develop those relationships from early on and prioritize those always. That's what makes a difference in your personal life and your professional life.
If you could master one new skill instantly, what would it be?
All right, I hate to admit this for my career, but it is now that I'm on my own and I don't have a full team working for me, it's website design. I am working on all my charities and everyone needs their website update and everything. And I am now trying to learn how to do it. So if anyone at Lauder wants to volunteer to help me learn how to do that better, that's what I'd like to do right now because everywhere I go, we really need that.
I'll spread the word here at Lauder. And what's a book you've read recently that you would recommend?
Oh, I read this beautiful book called The Return by Hisham Attar. It is the story of Libya and what happened there with Gaddafi's, takeover of the country. It is poignant, sad, terrifying, enlightening, and beautiful. And in light of what's happening in Syria these days and across the world, I encourage everyone to read it. It's just, it will, I, I'm sure, make an impact on perspective.
And how you describe Lauder alumni in one word?
Oh my God. I was trying to, I couldn't think of one word. I'm a marketer. So here's, I did my brief on it and I tried to find one, but I would say we're a kindred collective. It's because it's an amazing group that's fun, supportive, adventurous, engaging, and always finding new things to learn. So yeah, I think kindred collective. I also had joyful haven, but I think kindred collective.
Perfect. Thank you so much for all your insights, Deborah. This was the Lauder Impact series, and stay tuned for the next episode.